Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is HD StarCraft, and I'm here for game number 2 from the Grand Finals of MSI's tournament. Hope you guys have enjoyed the casting so far, and the players and the games. Very excited to see what happens here. The first game did go to Killer, and we may have yet a foreigner winning this tournament against 2 Koreans in a row, starting from the semifinals. MVP Tails will be the orange Protoss. In the bottom left-hand corner of the map is going to be Daybreak, and at the top right we do have Dignitas Killer. So far has been an exciting set of games from the semifinal A to semifinal B to this one. I'm still very, very hot. I've been casting this in a straight marathon, and I could not imagine being in anywhere else but doing this right now. This has been an absolute joy. We'll see what happens here. Killer going to be the orange Zerg at the top right-hand corner. You know, so far, I will mention this, so far we've only seen Tails try to end games in Protoss versus Zerg with some type of aggression, whether it be an all-in on 7-gate with +2 Blinkstalkers, or it's an all-in on, I think it was 7-gate with a Robotics Facility and Immortals and a Warp Prism. It just doesn't matter. I don't think Tails feels very comfortable going into a later game scenario against Zerg. He just really likes to end it right then and there. So I'm going to go on a bold assumption here, and I'm just going to say and assume that maybe the rest of this set is just going to be Tails trying to break the back of the Zerg player Killer, and it's all going to hinge and revolve around whether or not Killer can hold off that type of aggression. We'll just have to wait and see if that's the case. Tails here opening up with the Forge at the front door. And he'll try to get the Nexus down momentarily. One little add-on to that, to what I was saying before, is, you know, Tails is more of a B-teamer. He's not really been known for his, like, A-team plus play because he lacks that consistency. You know, sometimes he'll have these great moments and spurts of skill, and then other times he just kind of falls and lacks behind, and I think maybe this is his worst matchup, and that may be why, another reason why he just feels like he needs to all in rather than play the more conservative game. Killer, though, so far, you know, he's a very conventional Zerg player. He hasn't really done anything crazy besides that all in against Tasia on Belshir Beach in Game 4 of Semifinal B. And we'll see. I think if Killer just keeps playing his game, doesn't let Tails get in his head, I think Killer is very likely to take this entire series and take the grand finals for those 800 euros. So we'll see what happens here. Probe makes its way around the backside here, gonna try to get back into the main. There is a gateway, a cannon coming up at the front to protect that Nexus. 2 gases coming down in the main base as well. The probe gets the roundabout as it checks on the status of that hatchery, and we do now know that Killer is on 2 bases, but nothing too crazy there. It's always nice if the Protoss can actually get into the main base to check on the timings on the gas, because if you do see a gas at this early stage, typically that means something's up, you know, something's weird. Otherwise, most Zergs are going to delay their gas intake until about 6 minutes in. That's the most greedy way to play Zerg and still get away with it. There is a 3rd hatchery coming up. Meanwhile, at the 2nd expansion location, and we'll have to set myself to mute, I do apologize. And at the front door right here, Tails is going to open up with that Cybernetics core just to get that wall off. He did leave an open gap, I believe, between the gate and the core. So that can be walled off with a Zealot, can be sealed away. Otherwise, he can use it to funnel his troops outwards one by one, should he need to. And right now, just the official build-up between Protoss and Zerg. But I will always keep my eyes on Tails and what he's up to, because he really likes to be aggressive. We've already seen it in Game 1. He tried to shove his way down Killer's throat, not once, but twice. And then when he was unable to do so, he kind of decided to fall back and get Colossus out, but by then it was already too late, and Killer had already gotten too sizable of an advantage for him to even try to break through. We'll see. This is Game 2 of the Grand Finals, and we'll see what happens. The hatchery has now plopped out, and Inject Larva already hitting right there on time for Killer, not missing a beat at all. Overlord's already in position. Those Bugatti Veyrons ready to fly in across and see exactly what the Protoss is up to. And there is a Photon Cannon beginning to work down the supply depot, just giving the Protoss a little bit more building room and space. should he need it. And right now, this is the moment of truth. What is Tails going to be up to? What kind of buildings will he throw down? I like how he waited for the Overlord to get sent in first. He knows there's an Overlord out there, and eventually it will get sent in around 6 to 7 minutes. He's going to wait for this Overlord to die first. He's going to wait for him to kill it off, and then he's going to reveal his tech. So he should try to get his sentries inside. There we go. Kill off that Overlord. He's actually going to begin to warp in gateways right now. Doesn't want to miss his timings, and he's trying to get the gateways up to the north so that the Overlord won't see it, and he knows that the sentries will ward the Overlord to the south. So that was really smart play by Killer, as his buildings remain hidden, and unbelievably, this time he will play a macro game. All right. Tails is going to take this game to the later stages. And I'm actually a little shocked. I'm a little surprised. Haven't seen him do it yet, but we will see it now, and we'll see if he can, if he does have what it takes to play in a late game against Dignitas Killer. Now, if you're going to go for the Sir Nexus, if you're going to play the more conventional style, one thing you have to do, you do have to watch out for is these attacks in the side path, and that's why we have him walling this off with gateways and pylons. Very smart play. Now all he's got to worry about is an attack through the more narrow front door here, and that is something that Protoss can more easily deal with. And so I like the gateway positioning at the front. Of course, he is operating off of something like 6 or 7 gates, but remember, this is after the third Nexus, so he will not be going for that timing play where he goes for the all-in. There is a Twilight Council coming at the same time as well with that Protoss ground armor. Meanwhile, Killer just working up his macro, getting as many hatcheries as he can get, possibly with the macro hatch in base. He's also getting the missile attacks, the metabolic boost, the glial reconstitution for Roach speed. One thing I've noticed so far is Killer hasn't really been spreading the creep tumors all that well. In fact, he's not really been spreading creep at all. Just connecting the two bases, but has not been making his way outward to create a buffer zone to protect himself against a Protoss attack. And that's one thing he's going to want to work on. He needs to get extra queens so he can start to spread the creep outwards rather than just connecting his bases amongst themselves. But he is going for that kind of Stefano style, except this time he's actually added on a Hydralisk Den. We have a Hydralisk Den for Dignitas Killer. That makes things a little extra interesting because you don't really see Hydras in this matchup, but because the Protoss went for Robotics Facility, because he went for Twilight Council, we will not actually see any Colossus coming out for some time, and that's really the only unit that Hydras are scared of. Because right now Protoss is going for Blink Stalkers, I would actually say that the Roaches and Hydras could be surprisingly effective against this Protoss composition. And did the Zerg scout that out? There is a changeling coming up here, but it will get annihilated immediately. But did Dignitas Killer see the fact that, you know, there is a Twilight Council? No, he didn't. So he really just blindly countered the build out of MVP Tails. This is a straight blind counter, and Roach Hydra will just tear through Blink Stalkers, no problem. This is actually going to be really interesting to see, and right now Protoss needs to get support bay down. He needs to get Colossus out, otherwise these Hydras are just going to rip him a new one. Now the Observer sees the Hydras coming across the map. It's just straight Ling Hydra. Roach is now beginning to follow suit as they're coming out of the hatcheries, but this is really surprising from Dignitas Killer. A complete crazy build coming out of him. It's all going to hinge on this attack with Hydralisks, and will it be enough or not? He's coming on. Of course, Hydras are very slow here. This is not Heart of the Swarm yet, but I don't even know, man. Even with these Hydras, the force fields are just keeping them out of attack range. And will Dignitas Killer have enough Roaches and Hydras to punch through this army? Remember, Hydra is still extremely effective against Stalkers, and he has pushed the Protoss army back home. It looks like ground weapons level 2 on the way here, but Tails is not getting support bay. He's actually getting Immortal right now. I do not agree with that at all. Immortal is not good against Hydras. In this matchup right now, this is just not going to be the way the units he needs to get to fight this composition. And the Zerglings have gotten us around on the Stalkers, and this is so bad for Tails. It looks like Dignitas Killer is going to rip through a lot of the army, but now he's lost a lot of his fodder units, and it's just purely Hydras here. Does he have enough Hydras to break the Stalkers down? It looks like the Stalkers blink forward. Roach is coming in to reinforce, and all the Hydras just died. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Even when you go Hydras, they are still very bad without the proper backup units to support them. And like I said, it's not Heart of the Storm yet. We don't have Hydra speed. But I will say, surprisingly, Killer has been staying on top of his macro, 176 supply to 139. And, you know, one thing is, you know, support bay finally coming for the Protoss player, but it has been a long time coming. I'm actually really surprised Tails didn't throw down the double robo and support bay earlier. As soon as he saw the Hydras, that would have been my response, but it is nevertheless coming. He needs to secure the 4th Nexus right now if he wants to stay in this game, because Dignitas Killer is maxed, ladies and gentlemen. One thing though that I will say is going well, even though he's down in supply by about 50, he doesn't need to worry about Hive Tech for a very long time because of the Hydras. They really suck up the gas, and here comes Killer coming in with his Roach Hydra once again. Not a bad engagement position, but he has to worry about the reinforcements that will come. And it looks like Killer will have to tuck tail and run away, or at least get up to the high ground here. He does not have creep spread to help his units retreat, but that's okay. It looks like he's going to fall to the high ground and just hold position there for a little bit. But like I said, ladies and gentlemen, one thing that I am a little worried about for the Zerg player, he doesn't have Hive Tech yet. In fact, it's very delayed because of Hydralisks. And I would almost say it would have been better if Killer just skipped the Hydras, went straight for Infestors, and then went right into Hive. I don't think the Hydras have really paid off for themselves. Instead of having Hydras here, I think Infestors would have been much better. Otherwise, if you're going to go Hydras, might as well just go for some type of Doom Dropper or something crazy. But I really think Tails, you know, not being the type of player that likes to go into the late game in PvZ, is actually in a fantastic position right now. He's caught up in supply. He's secured the 4th Nexus. Colossus are going to begin to come out 2 at a time right now. There they go. And right now, you know, the tab's really showing that Protoss is ahead in many, many departments. Maybe not economically, but it's 82 probes still. That's a lot of workers. In fact, it's the Zerg who has so many workers that pretty soon he's going to have to invest those into just crawlers to throw them away. And that's what we're starting to see him do right now. More crawlers hitting the floor. +3 about to finish up for the Protoss player. And I really am worried about Killer's Hydras here. I would almost say it would be good for him to just throw the Hydras away, free supply space up to get Brute Lords out, but I don't know if he can even afford to do it right now. There's actually a Protoss attack about to hit his front door, and this is going to be so bad for Killer. I don't know how he's going to hold this off. He does have a wall of crawl here. He needs to set up the flank and come around the backside, but he doesn't have enough creep tumorage to help get the flank onto some type of mobile highway. And now it looks like the Protoss really in this little concave, in this little position where he can just laser everything down. There's the fungal growth. Nice fungals from MVP Tails, but I don't know, man. I don't think that that the Zerg has enough to hold this off. His Roaches and Hydras are just getting roasted. The force fields cut everything apart, and every exchange for Tails from here on out is going to go so cost effectively for him. He doesn't even need to worry about getting a mothership yet. There's no Hive units coming from Dignitas Killer. He does have Hive down, but he's got no Greater Spire, no Ultra Cavern. I mean, it would be weird to get Ultras in the first place, but no Greater Spire at all. So it is now just beginning to get underway. I really am worried for the Zerg player right now. MVP Tails is looking good to tie up this Grand Final series and go into game number 3. He's got a huge max ball of Protoss units, and trying to make his way to the top left, can secure the 5th expansion as well. Killer needs to get Greater Spire down and get his Broodlords out before he can even hope to make anything happen. One other thing as well is his creep spread not the best this game. Like I mentioned this in the beginning of the cast, you know, his creep spread wasn't phenomenal, and now it's starting to hurt him a little bit because he cannot mobilize around the map. He cannot flank the Protoss army as it drives its way down the middle, and that is another problem in itself. As Zerg, you have got to flank the Protoss army, and he can't do it right now. Everything coming in at this point in time, and I don't know what the heck is Zerg gonna do right here. Tails is just gonna shred through everything. Not a single Brute Lord on the field, and those Colossus are having a paradise day right now. Nothing to worry about at all. Tails is about to take game number 2, and we're about to go into game 3 tied up in this series unless a miracle comes for Dignitas Killer. It is now 186 supply to 161, so in comes 81 supply, 81 probes over 77 drones. And 8 p.m. at 2:40 for the Zerg. Protoss just chilling back at 200. Doesn't have to worry about a thing. He did lose a Colossus there. Nice play by Dignitas Killer. But, no, I really don't know what Zerg can do at this point. Will Dignitas Killer be able to get enough Broodlords out on the field right now? He doesn't really have that much resources banked either. Just barely able to live. He's living paycheck to paycheck right now, whereas Protoss is saving up enough money to deposit all his funds into some kind of future investment retirement savings. Tails is just looking so good right now, and there's really nothing I don't think that killer can do. Just waiting here for Tails to make that inevitable push across the middle of the map right now. Not that many crawlers in his way either. This hatchery is going to be the focal point. Broodlords have finally come out onto the field. Just about 4 Broodlords right now. Will Killer have enough to push this army away? Doesn't have to worry that much about anti-air as long as he can get his units underneath the Broodlords to protect them. And here comes the Roaches underneath the Broodlords, but it's just looking so bleak. And the Stalkers blink underneath everything. And Dignitas Killer is going to lose his entire army. I would expect a GG momentarily here for the Zerg player, and that is what happens when you try to go Hydras against Protoss and you don't end the game with those Hydras. It's just a compounding problem to have Hydras in your army because Colossus countered them so hard. So we are going to go into Game 3. The series is now tied up. Hope you guys enjoyed the cast. This is HD StarCraft, signing out.